and today's a special day. I am very happy to have a guest on the line with me from Edinburgh, Scotland. Somebody that is somebody I looked up to for so many years as a young child. And as a rock fan, Nobby Clark was not only the original singer for the Bay City Rollers, but an inspiration to many because he went on way after the Rollers to continue life in other directions, although he does continue to do music, and he's got a new book that's out, and he's on the phone now. Let's say hello to Nobby Clark. How are you doing, Nobby?
Hi, Derek. Yes, it's Nobby here from Scotland, as you said, yes, and hello to all your listeners.
You know, you sound nice and loud and clear. We got a great connection today.
Good, because we're quite a distance away. I can tell you, in Scotland here, it's quite cold just now, so we're definitely heading for winter time. But I'm glad to hear you talking about positive things, because with this virus situation going on for everybody, you know, I have a very positive outlook, and you know, we need a bit more of that.
Yeah, thank you. That's what the show's about. And, you know, I'm so honored to have you on the show. I remember being, 9, 10 years old back in the early 70s and reading books. And I always remembered you because your name was different. I'm like, Nobby Clark, what a cool name, you know?
Well, yeah, well, it's had its ups and downs, I can tell you. And the actual, the real meaning behind it would be too long to speak about today, but it was to do with my father, who was an army man, you know, and they used to give nicknames to people who were in the army, and, you know, if your name was Miller, you used to get called Dusty Miller, and it was similar sort of thing, Nobby Clark, if your name was Clark, and it's a long story, but maybe someday I'll get to tell you all about it.
Very interesting. And, you know, I'll be honest with you and the listeners. I just recently got a copy of your book in the mail just several days ago.
Oh, nice.
So I'm doing the interview backwards. I should have read the book first, but hey, that gives me something to look forward to.
well, I'll tell you before you get started with the book. One thing you should know is that every single word in that book is written by me. There's no ghostwriters here or anything like that. I wrote this entire book, and I set out, when I started to write it, I had to ask permission from some of my family members and things, because I knew that it's pretty hard hitting, you know, and very, very truthful. So I've stuck very, very carefully to the truth. So everything about the Bay City Rollers that I've written in there, as far as I'm concerned, is the truth, you know. Well,
that's a great place to start then, Nobby. How long did it take you to write the book?
Well, I'll tell you, to be honest, I kind of started it maybe 5 or 6 years before I actually got down to doing it properly. And because my background isn't writing in that fashion, you know, I write music, but I had never actually tackled anything like this before. So what I did was, I as a means of kind of an experiment, I started to write a novel, which is somewhere in my room there, half written. The idea behind it was to get experience of writing, which I did beforehand, you know. So then eventually I got down to writing this properly, but it's hard. It was really hard to write, because it was exposing myself to the world, really, you know. But people needed to know the story, because there was such a big cover-up in the Bay City Rollers, you know.
Yes,
big cover-up in what happened.
Well, there's so many mysteries, and I've got a letter from Karen Lee, one of your fans in Rhode Island, USA, and she wanted to know if you'd be writing another book or perhaps an updated version with extra chapters down the road.
Well, thank you for asking that. I've been asked before if that's going to happen, and it may well do. It may well do, because the book was written right up to when we were involved in the court case to recover the unpaid royalties. You know, it was a $40 million lawsuit. And not only was I suing the record company for a share of any recovered royalties, I was also suing the band, because they tried legally to keep me out of it, you know. Oh. And considering that considering that my voice was on over 23 albums that were released worldwide, with all these songs on various albums, and all the singles that I sang that were released.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not generally known, I think, in America that they released Saturday Night there with my voice on it, and because they hadn't informed Clive Davis at Arista Records that I had left the band. So I was, I was here in Scotland, and I got a phone call from Alan Longmuir in America saying that you better get your lawyer onto this because it's gone to #1 with your voice on it,
Wow.
And so there was a big cover up there to push Les McKeown forward as the singer on Saturday Night. But in actual fact, the song that everybody heard in the football stadiums across America was me.
So that's, in case the folks listening don't know, the big hit song Saturday Night that came out in the 70s. Originally, Nobby was the first singer, and then later when Leslie McKeown joined the band, he did the vocals on the song. So there's a bit of a mix-up because here and there they play different versions of the song. So Nobby's saying basically that he's been kind of cut out of some of that.
Well, that's true, but it was released there with my voice on it, without anyone knowing really, and of course somewhere down the line they tried to do a switchover, but by that time it had sold millions of copies, so they were kind of caught out in the process.
Well, a lot of a lot of listeners.
Sorry.
Well, a lot of listeners might not know. Also, you were talking about the money that's owed to the band. Probably one of the biggest heartbreaks in history when you think about the money involved and all the money owed to not just you but the other former Rollers. Were you guys able to collect any of that money?
No. What happened in the end was that it took 6 years to get it to the deposition stage, preparing to go to court, and what happened was that the members of the band at that time, Alan, Les, Woody, Eric, Derek, filed a motion to have me dismissed from the case on the statute of limitations because they knew that I had I was in a strong position to recover money, under my contract. And incidentally, they did exactly the same to Pat McGlynn and Ian Mitchell too, but on my story, they filed a motion to have me dismissed on the statute of limitations, and the judge upheld it, which was absolutely ludicrous because they set a precedent, and Sony Records, who had taken over Arista Records, decided to file a motion to have them dismissed on the statute of limitations, and the judge had to uphold it.
Unbelievable.
So they came out with some little settlement of not very much. But the whole story is very sad, actually. It's really sad from start to finish. But, I like to talk about the early times when we got the band up and running.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Well, I know that the band was formed by Alan and Derek, of course, the Longmuir brothers. They had the Ambassadors. The band morphed into the Saxons, and then you were asked to join the vocals, right? Around 64, maybe?
Yeah, well, I knew them from school. We were all at school together, and Derek was tapping on the desk with two pencils. I didn't know they had a wee band, and we got talking. And of course, I was singing at school in the choir and things like that. And Derek said, "Why didn't you come along?" And we need somebody to sing. So that's what happened, and that was it.
Are you the one that?
And then we sort of did.
Are you the one that famously stuck the pin into the map of the United States?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were there. It was Alan, Derek, myself, and another guy. But it was in Tam Payton's house, where he had a little office area that we had created for doing the fan club and things. And we had a map of America on the wall. In fact, we had two maps. So we had the map of America on one side, and we had the map of Scotland. And we were a working band. We were on the road constantly. And every time we played somewhere in Scotland, we would put a wee pin on the map. And the idea was to have that map to every town, every city, every village, the plan was to have a pin in every single one of these places, and we nearly achieved it.
I bet.
We were so popular in Scotland, it was unbelievable. They came from far and wide, and they hitchhiked all over the place to get to these gigs that we did away up north on the islands, everywhere, and people couldn't believe it. They would book us to do this gig somewhere in the far distance, and all of a sudden, all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people would all turn up.
Wow.
And it was just amazing,
That is beautiful.
Because of the noise we made with that, all the record companies were coming up to Scotland to see what was going on. And that's how it came about. And eventually we got signed up to the record company, and the rest of the story. So.
Yeah, and you put at least, 7 years of your life into that band, right?
Yeah, I did, absolutely. Yeah. I did.
Are you in?
It was a journey. It was an exciting journey. That's the whole point. It was an adventure.
Yeah,
from start to finish until it all got sour later on.
Do you? One of your fans, Lily McElroy, wanted to know if you still remember the words to "Keep on Dancing."
The words? Oh yeah, of course. I've sung it many times. I don't do many gigs where I sing the roller songs, like the ones that I did with the band, like "Remember" and "Mañana" and "We Can Make Music," "Saturday Night." All these songs I did with them. I don't do them when I do live stuff very often, but I occasionally do a slightly different version of "Keep on Dancing," slightly slower version, and it goes down really well.
How often do you perform these days?
Well, not as often as I would like to be honest, but I'm always in the studio, you see. I have a little studio here, and I've been producing music for other people over the last few years. So, in fact, I'm actually in the midst of an album now for an Edinburgh guy called Davy Sloan, who's taken time out from his band, the Rattlers. And so we've got 5 or 6 tracks nearly done now, but then the virus has hit, and so it's held things up. But I'm loving doing that, I'm really loving it.
Well, that's great.
So I do both.
I'm wondering if I could ask you some questions that were sent from some fans.
Of course.
I've got a list here for you, and they're all pretty interesting questions. Heidi in Canada, she's a big fan. She wants to know if you do keep in touch with any of the original Rollers whatsoever.
Well, I have to say that Alan Longer and I were very, very close. Very, very close. In fact, when he came out of the band for a year, we spent a good part of that time together, actually, and we went off away up to the islands up north. In fact, we hitchhiked. It's in the book. It's an interesting story, actually, because we did that just before Alan went back into the group again, And there's some good photographs in the book as well about that. Well, we were very close, and of course, I worked with Eric in the band as well. Eric came into the group, and he was in the band before Woody joined. Woody was the last of the main band to come into it.
Yeah.
Apart from later with Pat McGlynn and Ian, yeah. So I lost. Well, I didn't lose touch. I mean, we still spoke, Alan and I, but it was all soured by the court case. Because everybody started infighting and accusing this person of that, and it just got so nasty,
Yeah.
And in the end, after they filed the motion to have me dismissed from the case, then I never really spoke to them again after that.
Well, there's your answer, Heidi.
Alan, yeah. Well, Alan did get in touch with me one time after that, and I did go and see him, and we had a chat about the old days, and we had a laugh.
Well,
but, it just wasn't the same, anyway.
Well, I heard that you did attend his funeral when he passed away. I
did.
That's nice. Beautiful.
Yeah. I miss him very much.
I bet.
Very, very much.
You don't just love somebody for many years and then just all of a sudden, not love them anymore. Even if there's problems, you still have that, initial love.
No, of course. not at all. I mean, we went through some really hard times together, and we were the nucleus of the band. You know, the Bay City Rollers would not have existed if it hadn't been for myself, Alan, and Derek.
Well, that's...
And we were... sorry.
I have another question that morphs right into what you're talking about from Lisa. She wants to know if there was a sixth roller by the name of George Hardwick.
George Hardwick. Well, I know of this guy because he's been in touch with me many times on Facebook. He was nothing to do with the Bay City Rollers.
Okay, that answers that.
He was not a member of the band. He, as far as I'm aware, he was he helped them and he worked with them on the sidelines. But if he was anything to do with the Bay City Rollers, it was long after I was away. So
okay. Another question from Mary in Beverly Hills, Florida, and this is an interesting question. She says, "Nobby, you had curly hair when you were younger, but it's straight now. Did you perm your hair in the old days?"
It's straight now because there's not a lot left. But I did have curly hair. In fact, there's a story in the book about when we did the very first Top of the Pops was the big music program here in this country. Everybody involved with music wanted to get on Top of the Pops, and you had to be in the charts to appear on it, you know. And so we did our first appearance on Top of the Pops on the BBC with Keep On Dancing. And of course, if you've got curly hair, you want straight hair. If you've got straight hair, you want curly hair. Don't you? So I used to sellotape it down onto my face so I could straighten it down. And we had finished the dress rehearsal, and we were going through the corridor in the BBC to get to the studio to do the final recording of it, because it was always recorded on a Wednesday night, went out on the Thursday night. And we were running, because we were running late, and we were just about to run on the stage, and Alan said to me, "You've still got the sellotape on!" And I had to peel it off my face, you know. So, yeah, I know. People don't understand. If somebody's got curly hair, you want the opposite. It always is the same, isn't it?
That's funny, man. Belinda Pearson says, "Hey, Nobby, have you met any of your own musical heroes?"
I have. I've met many of my musical heroes. In fact, just a few years ago there, I was very privileged to be asked to sing with a guy called James Burton, who was Elvis Presley's guitar player and also worked with Roy Orbison and everybody, Willie Nelson, everybody. I mean, he's renowned as one of the best guitar players in the world. And,
yeah.
They call him the Telecaster Master, you know.
Yeah, what a master he is.
And he came over to Edinburgh. He did a one-off gig in Edinburgh, and I was very privileged to be asked to sing with him. And that was definitely the tick in the box, that one.
Nice.
And yes, I've met many famous people. And one story I would tell you very quickly is that I also had the privilege of being asked to perform on Claude Francois' Christmas special in Paris. And Claude Francois is the guy who wrote My Way.
Wow, Sinatra Elvis connection. So he
wrote My Way, but he wrote it originally in French called Comme de Habitude. So I did it through habit.
Interesting.
And it was translated by Paul Anka to I Did It My Way.
Okay.
And the French version, original French version, is absolutely beautiful. And just after we recorded that Christmas special in Paris, not long after that, and in fact there was a lot of very famous people on that show, including Jodie Foster when she was younger, he was having a bath, and the light went out, and he stood on the edge of the bath and touched the light fitting and electrocuted himself.
Oh, boy.
But it's worthwhile looking into his story because he had his own television show. He was massive in Canada. He was massive in Paris and France. In fact, so much so that when he died, they shut the whole place down for 2 days.
Wow.
So that was again another privilege. I've met so many people. We toured with Slade and with Sweet, and Rod Stewart was on the same Top of the Pops, that first Top of the Pops with the Faces. We worked with so many people over the years. It was just a wonderful experience, and I've always seen it as a very exciting thing. I'm still starstruck when I meet people, famous people that I admire.
I bet, yeah, because we're all just human, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Karen would like to know, if given the chance, Nobby, who would you like to work with musically if you haven't already worked with those people, like any of your heroes?
Oh, no, there's a thing. There's quite a few people, I can tell you, lots of people. Nowadays, I would like to work with some of the younger artists like Billie Eilish. People along these lines, because I think that music has changed. It's changed quite dramatically from my day, when we used to go down to London and there was a record company and a studio and a publishing company on every corner.
Yeah, it's different now.
It's different, and it's really it saddens me that a lot of the younger artists will not experience the vastness of the big record company behind you and the strength of it, and it was just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everybody's a producer. Everybody's got their music program on their computer, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a good thing. It's opened the door for a lot of people. But I would like to. I'd like to record some stuff with some of the younger artists, and if the opportunity arises, or if you get a phone call, pass them my way.
You bet I will. My daughter is a big fan of Billie Eilish, and that was a pretty good name to throw out there, Nobby. She's got quite the audience these days.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah.
Nice one.
She's a good kid.
Superb.
Here's a question that I was wondering, and I think I know the answer, but I think it's an interesting question, perhaps, in my humble opinion. Have you ever, in all these years, ever attended, like, say, one of the roller conventions or one of the meets, and have you and Leslie ever sang together on stage?
We never have, and I've only met Les on 2 occasions where we were very polite to each other, but we didn't have any reason to dislike each other.
Yeah.
But that all came later, when he wasn't very pleasant about me, but that's another story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's sad to hear. But I was wondering if you guys ever sang together. I was kind of picturing both of you up there doing Saturday night trading verses.
Well, we haven't, but there's somebody else who's pushing to try and make that happen. And I said to him, well, I doubt very much that's ever going to happen,
Wow.
But what was your main question here? I didn't answer it.
Well, the question was, have you ever sang with Les on stage together? Both the old singer and the new singer of the Rollers. I just wondered if you'd ever performed together.
No, never have. It's someone else was trying to get me last year to see if they could pull Eric Faulkner and me together and do something, but that never happened either. There's just so much bad feeling in the whole band, I mean, there's so much anger. I mean, Woody's going around and saying not so nice things about everybody, and I think if all your listeners at the moment get together and send some love to Woody, because I think he needs it. He's carrying a lot of anger. I don't know. It's just, you've got to just put things aside. And you can't just, that band, the fans don't want to know about all that rubbish.
No, I agree, and I think we should all send love to all of the former Rollers, as I have so much respect for all of you guys and love, and I know there's a lot of deep stuff going on that we haven't experienced, but as fans and humans, we really love all of you guys, and I really hope that that somehow that gets worked out down the road, and that there's more, less strife and more harmony, hopefully. I
hope so. I hope so. I mean, look at that. We've lost a number of people, members of the band,
Yeah. I'd like,
and before anything else happens.
Yeah, long live Alan Longmire and long live Ian Mitchell. They are missed. I'd like to ask you.
Sorry, the question you asked was, have I ever done any of the roller fests or anything? And I have. I did a roller fest in Las Vegas, and I did another one in Anaheim 2 years later.
How cool!
And it was wonderful. I loved it.
Did you ever regret once the band? Or let me ask you two questions. One is when the band got Leslie on vocals, and did you have any idea they would get as big as they did?
Again, it's interesting because yes, I had a feeling that they had the potential. Because remember that you have to think. I'm saying remember. I was going to talk about the song "Remember" because I left the band when "Remember" was at number 6 in the charts.
Wow.
So the success was already there.
Yeah.
It was already pushing forward, you know. And so I had no reason not to. And by the way, you know, I told them a year before that I was definitely making plans to leave the band.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
Because I couldn't deal with what was going on. So by the time it actually came up, they were obviously hoping I would stay, but I had made my mind up to go, you know.
Well, and you changed musical direction because you had a different taste in music. You were kind of into that Laurel Canyon, more songwriter type acoustic sound.
Yeah, you're bang on there. You're bang on. Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's a completely different type of music. So I could see how that would be, have some cognitive dissonance going on there. It's like, wow, I'm doing this and I'm successful at it, but I want to do this because it's what I like, you know.
Yeah. But I also, when in our live set, because we were a working band, we were on the road all the time, constantly, all over the place. And in our live set, one of the songs that was very popular was "Bye Bye Baby." Now, I must have sung it hundreds and hundreds of times, but "Bye Bye Baby" was originally by the Four Seasons, but it hadn't been a hit in this country. So very few people here knew of that song. But Alan and I introduced it into the live set that we did, so it went down very well because people didn't know it was originally a hit by the Four Seasons in America.
Right.
And of course, after I left, Alan suggested that they record it, and look what happened. It became a worldwide hit.
That's right. How did
so the energy was there, and to be honest, the music that we're moving into, because the follow-up from "Remember" was a big hit, so "Shang-a-Lang" came not long after that. You see,
yeah,
and that was a massive hit. So the movement was there; it was going forward, and Les was probably the right guy to come into the band and do what he did,
Yeah, he was good at it.
It's just a shame that he's tried to lay claim to songs that he wasn't really involved in. And I've always said, by the way, that Les has done plenty in his own right.
Yeah, he has.
Without having to claim stuff that he didn't do,
Yeah, he's done a lot more than I thought he did after doing some research. I'm like, man, this guy has been busy his life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect.
He can hold his head up high. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to claim anything from me,
Yeah. Have you ever been a guest?
I'm no threat to him, put it that way. Sorry.
I understand. Have you ever been a guest on the Scottish Steve Mac radio show? On his show?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, I heard.
I know of him.
Yes. There was an interview with Derek Longmire a couple days ago, and I was actually first time I ever tuned into Scottish radio, and I really enjoyed that show a lot.
Right. No, I know of him. He's very popular, but I haven't been on his show. No.
Hey, Nobby,
I'll have to rectify that.
How can people buy your book, and how can people get a hold of your merchandise and books and things like that?
Well, the book is available on Amazon. You can get it there. I mean, it comes through quite quickly if you want to order it. I can promise anyone who's interested this. It's quite an emotional read. It's got highs and it's got lows and some shocking moments.
I can't wait to read it myself soon.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you've got it anyway.
Yeah, it's on.
Yes, you can get it on there. The Lost Stroller by Nobby Clark, and I'll guarantee it'll keep your eyes on the page.
I have a question that I've never asked or heard anybody else ask, but it's really interesting. I think all of the former Bay City Rollers may have left Scotland here and there, but it seems like all of you live in Scotland still. Like everyone returned there to live for their lives. There must be a really great country for everyone to just stay where they were from originally.
Well, you know what I'm going to say, aren't you? I mean, it's the best country in the world.
Yeah.
I've lived in many other places for times in my life, and I've moved around all over the place, but I couldn't stay away from Scotland too long.
Yeah.
Once your roots are in Scotland, they're there forever. It's a fantastic place. It just is a wonderful, wonderful country with wonderful people.
Yeah, my roots are Scottish.
And a fantastic dialect. I love the Scottish dialect. I can tell where someone comes from immediately in Scotland because of the way they speak,
Well, it's interesting because there are some of you guys in Scotland that I speak with, and it's no problem. Like, I understand you, but there's other people that I speak with, and I just can't understand a word, and I get so embarrassed.
Yeah, well, when I first went down to London, they had such difficulty understanding what I was saying, so I had to learn to kind of speak slower and pronunciate a little bit more, so that people could understand, because the way we speak is quite different. I could easily slip into it now, but you wouldn't understand probably.
Now, is that because do different people in different parts of Scotland have different dialects? Is that the deal?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. You see, because of the Gaelic, it's kind of interspersed into it, and we have different words for different things in different parts of the country.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Very interesting. If you could go back and do something with your life that had nothing to do with music, what career choice would you have picked?
Oh, had nothing to do with music. Well, I'll tell you what. I remember when I was leaving the school, and the band were already up and running, but my mother insisted that I go into a training as a carpenter. And so I actually ended up doing 4.5 years as a carpenter. And the day that my apprenticeship was up was the day that I went professional as a singer with the Bay City Rollers.
Wow!
Although we had been going for that 4-year period, not everybody was aware that I was still working as a carpenter, and
Wow.
Alan was working as a plumber, and Derek was also working as a joiner. Well, the one thing that I do love in life is working with wood.
That's awesome.
So if I hadn't become a singer, I probably would be making furniture right now.
There you go. You are listening to KSKQ Radio 89.5 FM Ashland, Oregon, and 94.1 FM Medford, Oregon. We are talking with Nobby Clark. I should say I'm talking with. There's no we here, unless you can, talk about me and Nobby talking together. Thanks for tuning in to the EARTHEART radio show. Nobby Clark, writer, performer, and former singer of the Bay City Rollers. I really do appreciate you being on my show today. I've got 5 or 10 more minutes still. I really was excited to talk to you today. I was a little nervous.
No, I'm really delighted. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Well, I've always wondered about you, and it's nice to be able to actually have I prefer to call my chats conversations versus interviews because I like to just talk to people, not talking at you. Are you married? Do you have children, Nobby?
I do. I'm not married now, but I have a daughter, and I have 2 beautiful grandchildren, 2 girls, 10, and Mia's 10, and Marnie's 5 now. So, and I was with them earlier today. I adore them. Absolutely adore them.
I saw your Facebook photos. They are just absolutely beautiful kids.
They are, aren't they?
Really
they look angelic, but believe me, they're crazy kids. but they're fabulous, and there's never a dull moment. In fact, it was on my birthday there in September, and my oldest 10-year-old, she's learning to skateboard. And on my birthday, she said, "Have a shot." So I jumped on it, and I nearly broke my arm. So,
be careful, man.
I'm too old for that. But, it's just wonderful. You know, it's a great gift to have kids running about at my age. You know, it's wonderful.
It's
wonderful.
Keeps you young, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, very much so. Yeah.
Do you have any Bay City Roller favorite songs by the Rollers by chance?
You know, the one song I do like is "It's a Game."
That's a beautiful song.
Obviously, I was not nothing to do with that, but yes, it is. It's a very good song. I don't know how big a hit it was, but I think it was a hit in certain countries. You know. Yeah. But it's one that sticks in my mind, actually.
A couple more of your fans have sent messages over. And hello, Susan says hello. She's listening from Thailand. Susan Gordon.
Hi, Susan.
Yeah. And we also had a political question. Do you want me to ask it, or should I skip the political question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Normally I don't go there, but I'm going to make an exception. This is from Carol in Preston in England, and she would like to know, if you were allowed to vote in the U.S. presidential election, would you vote for Trump or Biden, and why, or would you vote for neither?
Well, I'll tell you what, that is interesting, because I've been saying to people for a long time now that Donald Trump is probably the best thing that ever happened to this world, and not because he's president of the United States. I think this is just purely my personal opinion, that the way he's gone about things will mean that things will definitely change, because there's a lot of people who will not want this to happen again.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think I should elaborate on that.
No, I think we can all read between the lines.
Yes, exactly.
So to speak.
Exactly.
You know, and plus, with this show, part of the premise is coming together as humans and less separation. And every time we say I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican or I'm a Christian or I'm a Hindu, it's just more separation. So this show's intent is to bring people together, and it's a love show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an entirely different, again, without getting too engrossed in this political situation, our political system here is different. You know, it seems to me that in America, if you have lots and lots of money, you can make a big noise, you know?
Yeah.
Our system doesn't work so much along these lines, but and it works more or less on donations. But it's interesting. It's a lot of theatre over there, and it's certainly interesting to watch.
Yeah, it is a lot of theater. That's a great way to put it. Is it shocking to you all these years later that there are so many hardcore, dedicated Bay City Roller fans still?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, they were huge. Yeah. I mean, if you count it right from the very start, I mean, the word is that there was something in the region of 120 million records sold. Now, that's bigger than a lot of bands that, you know, when I say that, people find it hard to believe, because it's probably more than the Beatles, it's more than the Stones. If you know, it's really an enormous figure, you know.
Yeah, it is.
So if you take that into account, I mean, you've got to put them high on the list of hugely successful bands, you know.
Yeah.
So and also because a lot of the controversy, you know, with Tom Payton and the things that things that have gone on with the band that are not particularly nice, but it's kept the name going for all these years, and the fans are so dedicated. And I'm not just talking about the fans that didn't even know I existed until later on. The fans who picked up on the group when they had their own television show in America and all these things. Yeah. These fans, so dedicated. But the fans from way back, from the start all the way through, they are so dedicated. It's unbelievable.
It is. It's great.
Because I get messages, hundreds of messages, honestly, all the time. I get messages from people, and they want to talk about what it was like, and the songs we sang, and the places we played, and all that stuff. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it.
How many?
And the thing about the thing about the Bay City Rollers, and certainly in my time, was that we treated these fans with absolute respect.
You did, and that was great. It's great to see that happen too. You guys are always so loving to your fans.
Yes.
How many solo?
Absolutely.
I think I've counted a couple, but how many solo albums do you have out?
Well, I've released 3 of my own solo albums, and I did these with my friend Davey Payton, who played in the Bay City Rollers for a period way back with another guy called Billy Lyle.
That's right.
And they, when they left, went on to form Pilot.
That's right. I loved Pilot. They had that one hit song, "Strange Magic," was it?
Ho Ho Ho, It's Magic, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tune.
And also January and Just a Smile and a load of really, really cracking songs written by Davey, of course. And Davey produced these 3 albums that I released.
Beautiful.
And they're available certainly on iTunes and on Amazon and places like that. Awesome. But then I followed it up in more recent times with an album that I did with a very good friend of mine, a wonderful guitar player called Rab Howitt. And we had written a couple of songs together, and they were so good we thought that, well, let's just make an album. So I produced this album called Shoulder the Sky.
Okay. That's
also available on iTunes too. And this album's different. It's got a real sort of country rock feel about it. And in fact, there's a song on there maybe you should listen to. It's called Holy Man.
Holy Man.
And Holy Man, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you'll find it interesting.
Yeah, and maybe next week on the show I can play it on the show for the listeners next week, because I'm going to be...
Oh, I hope so.
Well,
I hope so, yeah.
I'm going to be interviewing former Bay City Roller Pat McGlynn on the show next week.
Ah, nice one. Yeah, Pat and I are in touch.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and I'll play your Holy Man during the interview.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pat and I talk often.
Nice. Well,
yeah,
that's cool. That's cool to know you guys are in touch.
Yes, we are. We are very much so. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking out my window and looking at the clock, and I noticed that my time is pretty much up here for today's chat, my friend. It's been such an honor and such a pleasure, and I can't express enough gratitude to you, Nobby, for making the time.
Not at all. I've had a great time. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who's listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for your questions.
Yeah, I appreciate all the fans that have sent me questions and have been patient with me. And I sort of popped up out of the blue and joined all the Bay City Roller groups because, we had a bunch of fires down here in Southern Oregon, and we lost our storage units, and it made me want to do something happy. So I started exploring my roots of music again, and that's when I kind of looked you up. So
good stuff. Well, they'll all know now that you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, thank you so much. My friend, I hope to stay in touch, and once again, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, well, please do, and I hope we talk again.
You bet. Nobby Clark, thanks and much respect.
Thank you, Derek. Cheers.
Yep, cheers.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.